Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff, and welcome to part 10 of our build of the Endeavour by Amati. And in this episode we're looking at figure 9, which we're going to have a look at today and work our way through. So it says here, continue the mounting of the pieces following the dimensions showed in the drawing below in 1:1 scale. Trim the parts in acetate that simulate the glasses. With a mahogany colour finish, paint the parts on which the glasses in acetate will be applied, then glue. So what it's basically saying is do your parts, paint them, then put your windows in. Now if you remember in the last episode when we tackled figure 8 and we started the construction here, we didn't apply the acetate, so we've still got that acetate to do. So this is where we got to last time. So we've built up the main frame. Oh, I beg your pardon, we did add the acetate, but after it had been painted. I do beg your pardon, I'd forgotten that. So same process, we're continuing to build onto this construction. We've already sanded the parts smooth, so we can get straight into removing them and adding them. So let's have a look at that. So we need part 14, which is this one here. Part 13, which is here. 15 and 16, which are these here. And then the other bits are acetate. So that's it for our wooden parts. Okay, so as per usual, I'm going to get a little flat file and we're just going to take the nubs off. Now you've got to be really careful. These parts are very flimsy, they're very thin, and because they're long, they're very easy to snap. So what I recommend is that you hold it down, hold close to where you're filing so that you're reducing any stress on the part, and hold it flat on your mat so that everything's nice and tight and you're minimizing any issues with stress. And then just gently, I'm not pressing down with this file, I'm just sort of running it over the top, and you will get there. It might take a moment or two longer, but it's worth it just to make sure that you're not going to break your part. If you do break the part, then super glue, a bit of CA is the way to go. Don't try and break bits off and clean it up. As it fractures, leave it as it is and glue it back together as it is, and that'll give you the cleanest joint. Right. There we go. There's no tabs underneath, so that's that. So I'm going to clean the rest of these tabs off and I'll come back to you when we're done. Right, I'm going to use CA to attach these parts. You can use wood glue. So I'm going to start with this back bulkhead, which is this part here. And that goes in to this bulkhead like so, with the slopes facing upwards, because that's going to put our sloped roof on. And that goes in really nicely. Just have a little pinch there to pinch in that bulkhead a little bit. You can just see. So what we'll do is we'll put some glue on that mating surface there and on this mating surface at the bottom. So I'm putting a little bit on that. There. And then on those two there. And this particular glue, it gives me 5 seconds of grab, which doesn't sound like much, but actually once you've placed the part, it's plenty to get things aligned up and have them stick. You don't want it to be 15 seconds or something like that, because it feels like half a year when you're holding a part. So 5 seconds, I find, is as a rule, is perfectly good. And actually, as your glue gets older, quite often that extends anyway. Right, so there we go. That's that part in, and that all looks nice. Fit is great. Yeah, that's all good. The next part we're going to put in is this. Fits in the base there. As always, dry fit your part first to make sure you understand how it's fitting. Fits in there. Fit is good to loose on this particular part. So we're just going to put some glue into that tab area there, which is pretty much the only place it's making contact. There's a bit of a gap all the way around. There we go. But that'll be more than enough to hold it in place. Now this underneath bit gets sunk into the hull, so if you want to put a little bit of glue into the gap, you can do. You're not making anything look unattractive. There we go. So that's that piece in place. And then we've got the sides to add. So it's important that if you're treating this as the front, which I believe it is, and as you look at it, you can see it slopes backwards a little bit. It's the same with these parts. The slope back follows the slope on the line of that. So the taller bit is facing forward. Now this is the bit that's gonna mount onto your deck. The rest of it sinks into the hull. So just test fit it. Make sure you've not got any issues, because you want to sort out any issues before you fit. Before you glue it in, I should say. Right. No, it's nice and tight. I mean, that's holding in without the glue. So we'll pop that in, and I'm going to put the glue on these 3 mating points here. There we go. And we push that into place. Make sure it's nice and square, buttered up nicely. Yeah, brilliant. That fits in nicely as well. And we can just do the other side, which won't take a moment. Now you might be thinking he's not test fitted that. Well, I did off camera before we started talking. I test fitted everything so I understood what I was doing. Not that it's particularly complex, but there we go. So nice fit. Now if you've got any overhang, I don't, and I think it's likely that you won't, but if you have got a bit of overhang where you've got one part that's sticking out over the other, you can just sand it back. But actually the design of this is so precise that you've got no issues here. Now you can put a little bit of glue in the joint if you want. It's belt and braces, it's not necessary, but I'm just going to. Okay, right. We can give that a moment to dry, and while it's drying, we can go and get our paint and sort ourselves out, ready for painting it. Using whatever paint system you used for the first part of this construction, use exactly the same one again. It's recommended that you use mahogany in the instructions. I'm actually using walnut, which is slightly lighter, and we can paint it up. And we want to do the inside surfaces as well as the outside surfaces this time. And whatever you did last time in terms of number of coats, do exactly the same. Otherwise you'll have an uneven look in your paint finish, and we don't want that. Just be careful that you're not getting paint on the acetate that we put in last time, because you do want to just put a little bit of paint on the inside surface here where we're going to be putting the windows in. It's always wise, even if you think you're not going to see it, just to paint it just in case. So yeah, we can now paint the outside of that, and you can see how all the joints sort of disappear as soon as you do that. Now for those more experienced modelers, you may, before you paint this, you may want to put some filler into the joints and give it a sand and make it flush if you want. We're building it as per the instructions, so largely, so I'm not doing that, but there's no reason why you couldn't if you wanted to. Now, it's worth having a look ahead in the instructions and checking out what's visible on this. So this area here, the inside area, will be visible, so you want to make sure that's been nicely painted. And the same is true of the inside of these bulkheads here as well. Okay, and then when you've done it, give it a moment, and then you can go back and give it a second coat. Right, time to cut some acetate while our paint is drying on the cabin. So just like last time, I'm going to scribe this out and cut it out by scribing it. We can use the edge of the acetate if we want as a straight edge, but I find it a bit rough on certain surfaces, so just check that. So this is quite roughly cut compared to this, which is nice and smooth. So we're going to use this edge, and that's just one less edge I've got to cut, isn't it? Now, if I hold this in place nice and tight, I should be able to do both of these edges, and once you've scribed it once, it's that much easier. What I don't want to do is cut through the instructions, however. There we go. So we'll take the instructions out of the way for a sec, and we can now afford to press down a little bit. You can see how I can do that without the rule. Once you've scribed it 2 or 3 times, your knife blade's just going to follow what you've done. Right, we can get the acetate out of our way. So that should be the correct width. Doesn't matter if it's slightly over, because we've got a bit of depth in there, as you can see. if I put it in that top corner there, doesn't matter if it goes down beyond the bottom of the window, so I'm not going to worry too much if it's slightly off. What is more important is that you get the length right, because you've not got a lot of wriggle room on the length. So I'm going to start by just squaring up this end because it doesn't look very square. So I'm just going to put it on my grid on my cutting mat. Make sure my top edge is on the straight line. Yeah, it's just a little bit off. In fact, it'll be easier to do it that way, won't it? So make sure that's on my cutting line, and we can just square that off. That gives me a good start. Let's get rid of that before we lose it. Right. So back on our instructions, and make sure we're nice and square with the drawing, and again we can just lightly go over it, score it a few times, and we know we've got the length there. So that's our first window done. Now this will do this, obviously there's two windows in each side, this will do the full length in one, and then assuming we've cut that nice and straight, I just need to mark out this end now. Don't be tempted to do it without the rule, because you'll be amazed how difficult it is without following a straight edge. Right, we can trim that to size now. There we go, and that's our two windows done. Don't worry if you mess it up, there's plenty of acetate. You've got acetate for probably 100 models in there, so don't worry about it. You could do that many times over. Right, whatever adhesive you used last time for attaching these ones, use the same one again. So let's get these attached in. Now there's different ways of tackling this. You can put the glue onto the wood and then put the acetate in, or you can put it on the ends of the acetate. What I do recommend is that you don't put any glue on this central pillar here, because it's only gonna ooze out, so and it won't look nice. So I'm actually going to put my adhesive on the edges here of my acetate, because I think that's going to be easier for me, and I'm less likely to nudge the glue as I go into the wood and smear it. At least that's the theory. So we can go in low and then bring the window up to the wood. There we go. And it's actually, if you cut it to the length in the instructions, it's actually quite a tight fit. So make sure it is fully pushed in. And it's flat to the bulkhead at both the top and the bottom. And that seems to be all good. So that completes figure 9 and this episode of our build of the Endeavour. We can put that to one side ready for our next step. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was useful. If you're enjoying the series, you can hit super thanks, and any money that you donate goes straight into the channel so that we can buy more kits to review and build. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.
Hi, and thanks for watching. You can support the channel by hitting the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, please consider the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you don't miss any content that I put out. Model Kit Stuff is a self-funded channel, and I don't do membership or Patreon or buy me a coffee. So if you'd like to further donate to the channel and ensure the cameras keep rolling and the content keeps coming, then you can consider making a donation through my PayPal. You will find a link to that in the text below. You enjoy your modelling, and I'll see you soon.